Urban Meyer is still with us. Jimmy Johnson rejoins us. Jimmy, I'm going to sit back here because I want you guys just to talk about, we hit on the draft a little bit earlier with Urban and specifics of it, but just the philosophy, you've seen it from both sides, about how you go about approaching the draft. And maybe this year, obviously, it will be different without the one-on-one face-to-face time. But just your philosophy, and I want to hear you and Coach Meyer go back and forth just about your take on it.
Your phone's got to be ringing off the wall, Urban, because the big thing for me, people ask me, like, for instance, would you take Tua? Would you, trade up for Burrows? Would you do all this? I said, the biggest thing for me, I wanted to be the player. I wanted to be able to sit down. That's why the interviews at the combine, that was more important than watching them run a 40 dash. And I got so much information with my strength coach calling the college strength coach, talking to them. Because a lot of times, if you talk to a coach that you don't know, he's going to sell his player. But when my strength coach talked to the strength coach, they were on the same level. Then I'd have my trainer call the college's trainer, talk, how is he there? Is he continually in the training room? Is he hurt? And when he's in the training room, is he a real positive attitude type of guy? And the other thing, especially with coaches that I knew, I was on the phone saying, tell me, how good a player is this? I'll give you a quick story. Back many, many years ago, when I was coaching at Wichita State back in the 60s, Colorado did as good a job of recruiting talent as anybody in the country. And I said, well, what did they do? Did they go to watch them play? And they said, no. They talked to all the opposing coaches of teams. They said, who's the best player that you played against? And then they would get a ranking of these players by really getting information from the different high school coaches. And that's how they recruited, and they brought in great talent. It gets down to performance. Sometimes when you scout these players, you go height, weight, speed, quickness, on and on and on. You forget about, hey, how good a player is he? That's what the coach will tell you.
Well, I feel very strong about this, Kurt, and Coach Johnson, that it's amazing that when you're hired as a head football coach, two things you have to do. Number one is develop a culture and implement a culture. Number two, it's called talent acquisition. And in college, it's recruiting and development. In the NFL, it's drafting and free agency, et cetera, and development. And when I was a young coach, I didn't have set criteria when I first started off. And then a guy named Bill Belichick would come visit with me every year. And his visit wasn't a quick drive-by. He was in my office for 3 to 4 hours. He would meet with every player. He would ask me questions. Not one time would it be, how fast is he, or how tall is he, or what's his vertical jump. He would ask me if he fits the criteria of a New England Patriot. I knew exactly what it was. It was an intense competitor, toughness, and all the things that he believes in, because he would share that with me constantly. And I changed my way of recruiting. And when I was at Florida, I never really, if you ran fast, you had a high vertical jump, we signed you. I wanted the fastest team in America. And then I just started learning, and by the way, we did. But yeah. I just learned along the way that players have to fit your criteria. And I learned that from Coach Belichick and the other great coaches, that there's no secret. I mean, it's not a secret, the teams that win every year. How about this for a stat, Coach Johnson? That there's teams that lose every year that have better players on paper than the New England Patriots, because they draft ahead of them every year, so they must. But they never, there's also some of the programs or franchises that really struggle that I couldn't tell you who's in their personnel department. I never talk to their coach. I never do the things that you said. Imagine me going out and recruiting and not talking to the high school coach. So I don't know.
Right.
I'm sure they're gathering. I'm sure they're gathering information. I'm sure they're getting it from someone. But the way I was brought up in the business, you always go right to the source, and that's the head football coach, whether it be high school, whether it be in college, and go, like you said, I want to know, tell me what he's like when he's hurt. I want to know, what's he like on a Wednesday practice? Is he going to tap out all the time? What's he like on fourth down? What's he like in the toughest situations? And do they fit our criteria? I can tell you this, I don't think some NFL teams have criteria. Because I mean,
and are you
coached
saying
Ohio
that
State and Florida, and I don't know who they are.
not to interrupt you here, but cause I think it's a great story. Are you saying that when you had players, because whether it's at Florida or Ohio State, you had guys that were going high in the draft, but that you didn't hear from teams that were drafting high, that were asking you all the time? Not every team called you?
Kurt, if I told you a story, you wouldn't be shocked, because there's a reason why certain programs just don't win very often. And that's because I never heard from them. Now, the ones that happen to win a lot and happens that do a good job, and almost wear you out. They're our strength coach. We have the best strength coach, Coach Marotti. And Ryan Day and I talked about this. There's a draft come up, and he has not been approached by a bunch of teams. And we just kind of laugh. You're like, you got to be kidding me. What are you doing?
So like who?
If you want to get
you're out
coached,
of the coaching game now. You can tell names, or at least organizations. Probably those people aren't there anymore. So when you were at Florida or Ohio State, and you had a big name guy, and teams were drafting early in the draft, you thought, okay, I know they're going to hit me up, and you never heard from. Give me a couple of examples, or at least some players that you thought people.
I'm not going to give names and coaches, and teams. They're the ones that don't win, and they're probably not going to win the next year, and they're not going to win the year after. I mean, it's just there's a pattern there that I've never really had time to look into it. But this year I kind of spent some time studying the NFL and talking to a bunch of our former players, and just tell me about the culture of the organization. And boy, oh boy, I mean, it's really the same as college. It's the same as corporate America. You get these strong cultures with strong leaders inside that culture, you win. And it's amazing. I've had my players go in the top 5 to top 10 picks in the draft. And you're talking about generational money. And I didn't get a phone call.
Story done. Jimmy, go work at that coffee can. We appreciate you, brother.
Okay.
Always good to hear from you. Coach Meyer, thank you so much for the time as well. Great hearing stories. I love it.
Kurt.
And you got to give me some names next time, all right? At least send me an email. We'll talk to you later, guys. Thanks a lot.
For the best access, perspective, and personalities in all of sports, follow us at Fox Sports on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.